Hello, Yizhao Martins, licensed marriage and family therapist, couple therapist. Today is the first year of the snake's year. Happy New Year, happy Chinese New Year. Wish you a prosperous New Year. It's the year of the snake. So, do you ever feel you were love bombed by your ADHD partner who is hyper focused on you at the beginning of your honeymoon stage? So that is a question from one of our viewers. I love to talk about that today. So first, let's take a look at the model that we're looking from. And I mentioned in my videos before, I come from a more neurodivergent perspective or lens versus the medical model. The medical model or lens is more looking at diagnosis. Are you meeting the criteria of the DSM-5 for ADHD? Are you the inattentive type? Are you the impulsive type? Or the combined type? Yes, when I do my private practice and I give diagnosis for insurance purposes. But in my professional view, I see that everybody is on the spectrum of something. The ADHD spectrum, the autistic spectrum, the OCD, oppositional defined spectrum, that ODD, the OCD, the obsessive compulsive spectrum, or something else like narcissism, for example, borderline personality. So we're all on the spectrum somewhere for those criterias, and if you look at through those lens, we're having a very interesting combination, right, with the constellation. So each of us is unique for our brain, our nervous system, and our personality. It depends on our genes, and then also how we grow up and our interaction with the world. That's what makes us so interesting, each of us unique beings. That being said, if you are leaning on this end of the spectrum of the ADHD, meaning you have more symptoms, I always ask people, how does it impact your life? Your personal life, your self-regulation, can you achieve your goals? How's it with your studying, your professional life, your relationship? Does it have enough impairment, negative impacts on you that you feel you're disabled? Were very much inconvenienced by your ADHD symptoms? If so, well, hyperfocusing is one of the symptoms or traits or the characteristics of ADHD, but it can also come from other things. For example, if you're always on this end of the OCD spectrum or autistic spectrum, you may also have hyper-focused moments. Right? You have a particular ritual, particular hobby, particular topic that you're so obsessed with that you cannot let go of. It's very hard for you to stop from engaging that and to participate in other things. Transition is hard for you. So hyper-focused people tend to pay a lot of attention to an item. Sometimes it's things or food, right? Sometimes it's games, sometimes it's a process they're engaged in, or a person or experience that they have a hard time transit out to other parts of their life, sometimes of obligations. So that creates an imbalance in their lives, and that actually have impact on people around them. Think about coworkers, bosses, partners, children, co-parents, etc., etc. Right? So we all have moments of hyperfocus, right? So as I said, it's a spectrum, depends on where you're on it, depends on what's going on. That's actually quite common. Again, how does it impact you and your relationship? So let's talk about, and also if you think about this pleasant experience or things that you're hyper-focused on, and then later on there is a drop, right? There's a withdrawal, or you can call it. One example of hyper-focused is, think about preschool. There's a new toy, and all the kids just love that new toy. They all wanna play with that, and they fight over it. And after a month or so, That toy is left in the corner. Nobody bothers, right? So as human beings, we all have this tendency. There's a part of us wants something new, something novel, something exciting, that's different. That creates this dopamine effect in our brain. The reward system in our brain got activated. I have this image of this loop, right? The stimulant, pleasant experience, more dopamine or other neuropeptide, whatever that chemical is, and then you go back to the stimulant that you want more and more pleasure until it started to worn out, right? It started to be not as exciting anymore. Then you're looking for something else that creates that high for you. There's a part of us that seek that sensation. Everybody does. You can say, well, I don't know, I'm someone who likes something familiar. Yeah, right. And so that's another part of you that likes something that's predictable, familiar, and safe. We have that too. Everybody has those parts. At any given time, you may have a bigger this part, and another time bigger this part. And is it possible you project that part of you, the novelty-seeking part of you, onto your partner with ADHD? How convenient, because they can be hyper-focused. That's part of the symptoms. People all talk about that. It's easy just to give that to the other person, saying, I don't have that part. I'm only loving the familiar and security. I'm consistent. They're the one that hyper-focus and want a novelty and excitement. Yes, but it doesn't work that way. So think about it. Be honest. Are you projecting that part onto your partner with ADHD? So you don't have to own it. It's much safer on their side. You don't have to deal with your own internal conflicts. Yeah. Okay, love bomb. The concept of love bomb, I see, is often mentioned by the anti-narcissism community. Talk about how narcissists love to love bomb people, right? So what is love bomb? My understanding is someone who is the one generally give the attention, the love, affection, energy, sexual energy, admiration, appreciation to the love object in a way that in a short period of the time give so much that overstimulate the other person's nervous system, and they have this effect almost like being on drugs, right? Very euphoria. And then they withdraw that attention and love and appreciation, sexual energy, and the love object experience a drop, a withdrawal. It's like after substance, right? You feel a drop, you withdraw, you feel the low after the high. Right? So there are a couple things I invite you to think about. Number one, what is the intention of your partner that's giving those attention, love, admiration, sexual energy, whatever, right? That are they intentionally doing that to manipulate you? Or is that they were just really excited about you and that's how they operate? But everybody's nervous system is different. Some people have a hard time to tolerate frustration and to prolong, to delay gratification than other people. Ideally, your parents, your preschool teacher train you to tolerate frustration and delay gratification. But not everybody receives that, and it depends on how you're built neurologically. It might be harder for you. Right? You want that immediate gratification, so you just go for the dose of high. What for both people. So intention is important to question and to study. Number two is after that, do you have a withdrawal? Are you enjoying that this period of time is prolonged and prolonged enough to build a secure foundation for the two of you to have that bond in the honeymoon period, so you can differentiate later when you're working on your relationship, your differences, right? It's a very necessary and it's important. 3, boundaries. So how's your boundary while in the love bombing, if we call it hyper-focus stage? So notice that you always have a choice. In order to be love bombed by someone, you have to be receptive to that. How often do you see your dates when you start to know someone new? What's the duration of your date? Do you go 3 to 6 hours for the first date, or you do an hour and then you call it a night? What's the cadence at the beginning of your dating? Do you see them every other day or a couple times a week at the beginning? Or you stagger it and give yourself time to rest and come back to your homeostasis, okay? And how much do you share? What's your emotional energetic boundary? Look at my video on the the boundaries, right? Time boundary, physical boundary, emotional boundary, and energetic boundary. Do you overshare your childhood trauma, everything that's not processed with your new people, new person, really early on, that you feel so vulnerable, you feel so connected, and you are using them as your therapist? Or are you being selective in your sharing and hold your boundary in the way you want to give gradually and slowly? So all of those factors as how you hold your boundary will in some way impact how you're being impacted by their love bombing behaviors or their enthusiasm at the beginning. Right, and the 4 is the method of love bombing, or say what is your love language. Say if your love language is quality time and they spend a lot of time with you at the beginning of dating, and it could build that attachment very quickly, and then when they withdraw, you may feel this drop, right? Or if your love language is gifts, they shower you with gifts. Say, my love language is not gifts. So if someone love bomb me with tons of gifts at the beginning of dating, it won't do anything to me. I would just be like, why you give me all these things? Like, I don't want. It doesn't do anything. But for other people, gift is their love language. They will be just feeling on top of the world. This person cherished me so much, they gave me so much gifts, and I feel so good and attached to that person. Okay, so method. So we talk about love bombing, perceivedly. What I think you're more interested to know how to deal with the aftermath, right? Which is after when you hit the withdrawal, you're in a stable relationship, the honeymoon period is gone, and you're feeling they don't pay attention to me as much. They don't express their affection, they don't give me as much attention or sexual energy, admiration like the beginning. Hello, my friend. Welcome to real life. Any relationship after the initial honeymoon period, there will be a plateau in some way. Your chemicals are dissipating, your brain is getting used to this new stimulation. It's actually from both people. It's not as exciting maybe as before. So in some way that's normal, or it's part of the relationship development. You're starting from discover new things about the other person, getting excited about it, to finding solutions to deal with your differences, to integrate your differences, which is the differentiation stage, right? So from symbiotic to the differentiation stage. And I wonder what part of you get activated when the other person withdraw their attention, their love, their appreciation, their kind words, their love and energy, sexual energy, right? All of that. What happens to you? What do you notice? Which part of you start to talk really loud? Is that a part saying, oh, I'm not good enough? Or is it a part saying, my needs doesn't matter anymore? Or they don't care about me, they don't love me anymore? What is that? That's the important thing. That is the learning here. Like, also, who is generally the initiator in your relationship? You know, when I talk about initiator, it's like, hey, I text you and to show care, or I want to make plans, right? And I'm offering something, reaching out. That's the person that's initiating contact. So who tend to be the person initiating contact in your relationship? Is that more or less balanced, or is it always one person reaching out, checking in, making plans, the other person just sit there and wait, right? And a lot of times the partners with ADHD at the beginning can be very active in making plans and checking in, doing that when there's a lot of dopamine going on. And then as time goes, naturally it's harder for them to take the initiative to make plans, to check in, to remember to check in, to take the initiative to do those things and stay organized when they decide, you know what, I feel secure in this relationship, I can focus on something else now, like work, like this friendship I'm struggling with, professional development, this new hobby, right? That actually makes sense as you think about a relationship, a long-term relationship. People tend to use it as a security base to expand themselves in the world, right? Not just focus on the relationship. But when you feel the security base is undermined and you would like some connection to make you feel stronger in the relationship, getting the connection and getting energy from your partner, do you ask? How do you ask? Do you have that conversation with them? And do you ask their intention? Do they need more attention and love and connection right now? Or maybe they're overwhelmed and they're in their own personal system. They're trying to self-regulate and get their things together so they can have more energy for the relationship. Without surviving and thriving in our own self, it's really hard to reach out to connect with others. And otherwise, you're coming from a place of deficiency and stress, right? That happens. Sometimes we reach out for co-regulation. But if your intention is to build good time together and enjoying your connection, both people got to do some work on themselves to manage their own nervous system to make sure they're well resourced before they can do that. So, I wonder, how do you feel right now after I talk to you about all of that? What did I stir in you? Especially when I talk about when you need to come back to yourself and look at your parts and notice what part shows up and then how to self-regulate, right? I know some of my clients don't like that at all when I talk about that. They're like, I just wanted to be loved and admired and soothed. I didn't get that growing up or what I wanted in this relationship, and they're just not showing up for me the way I want them to. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. I understand that. There are parts that want to be taken care of, and they want to be admired and loved and soothed and wanted, right? And some of them are quite young. And we are our primary caregivers to those parts. And our partner and other people in our lives are secondary or tertiary, right? I hope you have more than just one person in your life that provide all of that for you, and that you're the primary care of those parts. Get to know them, care for them, love them, integrate them into yourself, and there's more work to do. Well, thank you for listening to me, and I hope that poked something in you so you're not as comfortable today, and that's okay. That's okay. I will see you next week. I would love to talk about how to have those difficult conversations with your partner with ADHD when you feel deprived, when you feel I'm not getting enough from this relationship. I would like your attention, love, and sexual energy back more. That's hard to ask. How do you get those conversations in? We'll talk about it next week.